that the consequences of refusing to debate. And so I think it's an ongoing campaign that, particularly as you show resolutions, and physician groups are extremely valuable because they're persuasive in healthcare policy. Nurses, obviously, are persuasive in the healthcare debate. And more organizations, civil rights organizations, you need to make sure that they're making the endorsements. Other groups that, social and civic organizations that you belong to, make sure they study the issue and come up with a good statement about why you believe single-payer plan is the best option.
The Unitarian Church, the Lutheran Church, those are just two that I can think of on a national level have endorsed single-payer. Presbyterian Church, well, Methodist, okay. Possibly Episcopalian, and I've heard that the Church of Christ is getting ready to endorse.
Hi, my name is Teresa Zimmerman, and I'm an OFA worker, and I'm Eastern New Marshall. I used to live in Richmond and work on the graduate level, and I just have a suggestion that all the OFA workers who've been going through the Obama website working together, can we meet at the end of this meeting in that corner so we can exchange email addresses so we can work hard on getting things worked out? We just feel past the next 3 months.
Can I just comment that the OFA,
OFA meeting in the corner after the meeting, after the form meeting.
Many of our OFA groups in Maryland are actually dedicated single-payer groups that organize through the OFA.
And many of our Virginia groups of OFA are devoted to single payer as well. Okay, next question. Dr. Joseph gave us some valuable information when she revealed what she as an employer pays to cover her staff. Why isn't this information widely known and discussed during the healthcare debate?
It is, and that's one of the reasons many business groups are coming on board, because they can't stand the pressure of the constant increases.
What I meant was, how come the average person, how come I as an employee have no clue what my employer is paying for my health care?
You're going to find out soon, because the tax issue is irrelevant to 99% of the people. There's no discussion about the question that health care will be deductible by the employer or not count as income to the employee. There is a discussion if you've got some plan that covers spas and massages and that kind of stuff, cosmetic surgery, unnecessary. That portion of a policy may or may not. I mean, that's what the discussion is. In somebody's basic policy, there is no discussion about whether or not that's going to be taxable income to the employee. But in terms of the cost, it used to be fairly routine that the employer would get health care coverage without any employee participation. Now it's 10%, 25%, and as the costs go up, not only is the cost going up, but the percentage that people are going to be paying goes up, and that's how employees are going to find out what's going on. Employers are finding out how much it costs, because if you're in union negotiations, salary and work conditions are pale compared to health care benefits, and that's where people are going on strike. So everybody is finding it out slowly but surely. And when you have the numbers that Dr. Joseph mentioned, where it's more than double in just a few years, it's coming out.
Well, that was really, you're kind of thinking globally. I'm literally talking about how come employees don't know what their companies are taking into.
Oh, I do.
Well, in a small business, you do?
I do.
I guess the part I'm trying to head this was that I think there's so much reluctance. Didn't you see the town hall in the White House that Obama did about a week or so ago? Did y'all see that? Yeah, ABC, and where virtually all the questions from the audience were about, well, what if, if it was your wife and she was dying and there was a prescribed level of care. There were all these questions where it was obvious that the people in the audience were very about losing any coverage. You know, they always want the extra MRI and all this, and you talked to some degree about a reasonable quality of care rather than quantity of care, blah, blah, blah. But it seemed like most of the people in the audience were afraid of losing that quantity of care. And it occurs to me that if people had a better understanding of how much any of this costs anybody, whether it's their employer or whomever, they would get a better sense of what it is we're really talking about. In other words, when I go and get a prescription for my ear allergy, I ask, and I'm shocked because, and one of the reasons I asked is it cost all of my it was a tier 3 copay for me. It turned out that tiny little bottle of drops was $145, and I only paid $35 for it. But the fact that it cost $145 is what's meaningful. Am I making any sense here?
Exactly.
How come that kind of information isn't much more broadly discussed in any of this? And why aren't more businesses on board with single payer if it would save them so much money?
Well, I cannot understand to this day why the Chamber of Commerce hadn't figured out that in a global economy, when you've got cost of healthcare as part of your cost basis, and in Detroit and right down the street in Toronto, they don't have it in the cost basis. How do you expect it to compete? I don't know. In General Motors, if you went to a single payer national health care where it's off the book, off everybody's books, I mean, a share of GM stock would have to go up $5 a share just because you've got all that cost basis, all that cost out of the off the books. I can't understand why they don't look at their self-interest and figure this out.
I was wondering, why do maybe I missed it, the Democrats have brought this up, but it occurred to me that there are quite a few people who don't work very well with large institutions, and so they find themselves either starting a small business or going to work for a small business. And because so many of those small businesses can't afford health care, essentially you either sell your soul and maybe wish you had died working for Soulless Inc., or you put your life on the line and go work for a small business or start your own small business, which means that a lack of single-payer health care literally is destroying America's engines of innovations in small businesses and small companies. And so Republicans want to say that they're pro-small business, and I say, really? I don't see that. How is it that a small business is supposed to hire decent employees or keep the ones they have alive if essentially you're putting your life on the line to either start a small business or work for one? And why don't the Democrats point that out more? Thanks.
The major organization lobbying for small business is a very conservative organization, and they are adamantly opposed. The Federation of
National Federation of Independent Business, I understand they have some backing.
now there is another group, much more liberally oriented, coming out to advocate for small business interests, and we'll look at them, but the National Federation is just adamantly opposed to everything.
I think too, to answer your question about why don't we know the cost more, we have this really crazy system where each insurance company negotiates with each different pharmaceutical and healthcare provider so that one medication, the cost depends on what your insurance company has negotiated. Same thing with procedures. Can vary by a factor of 10 in the same geographic area based on what people have negotiated. It's designed not to be easy to understand or to be transparent. And I think in terms of the business side, we're coming off of a number of decades now in this country where we've really been educated to believe that the market is the solution, and where we've really been kind of brainwashed to believe that healthcare is a commodity that should be bought and sold on the market. And so a big part of this is education, is understanding how different we are from other nations who actually see healthcare as a human right. And if you ever have a chance to experience that in another country and see, it's really an amazing experience where when somebody needs care, that's the first thing that's the top priority, is giving them that care and not figuring out whether they have their insurance card is